Hello, and welcome to today's show, Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, international leadership expert and trusted advisor. Welcome to Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm so delighted that you joined me today. I have a very special guest on our show today. His name is Chris Robinson. Chris is Executive Vice President of Maxwell Entrepreneurial Solutions. He's also the founder of R3 Coaching, a company dedicated to helping individuals and businesses achieve their personal and business growth goals through speaking, group training, and one-on-one coaching. Chris is a founding partner of the John Maxwell team, and as the newly appointed Executive Vice President of Maxwell Entrepreneurial Solutions, he is a product of the product. He leads a global team of over 30,000 speakers, coaches, and trainers. Chris has dedicated his life to enhancing others by speaking and teaching on leadership and personal and professional development. More importantly, he is the father of 11-year-old triplets, a 7-year-old, and 4-year-old twin girls. Today's topic is being. A topic that is near and dear to my heart, and I can't think of a better person, a better leader, a better human being to address this topic than Chris Robinson. Now, I met Chris in 2012. We were both attending an international John Maxwell team conference in Florida at a beautiful place in Orlando. And when I met him and heard him speak so passionately about his life, he was on fire. So I can't wait to host my friend, mentor, and colleague, Chris Robinson. Before I bring Chris in, I want to take just a moment, to connect the dots between today's topic on being and legacy living. Now, there are many, many ways that being connects to legacy living, which you'll hear more about later in the show. For now, let me say that legacy living is a way of being and a way of living in the world, so that we make the conscious choice to be the difference we want to see in the world. We make the conscious choice now, today, not in some distant future. We make that conscious choice day in and day out, 365, 24/7. All right, more about that later. Let me bring in my friend, mentor, and colleague, Chris Robinson. So Chris Robinson, I just want to welcome you today and thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. So Chris, I know you have an amazing story, and I would love for you to tell our listeners, just a little bit about you, your background, and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh, wow. Well, it's been a phenomenal journey, a personal growth journey for me to get where I am today. Today I serve as the Executive Vice President for the John Maxwell team, which is the largest speaker, coaching, training, certification program on the planet now, with the number one leadership guru in the world. And to think that I would be sitting here in the role of leading that organization today was really a long stretch of a vision. And I tell you what I'm doing today is because of personal growth and development. And, it was because of a dream and desire to simply help people. I started out, really diving into personal growth and development about 16 years ago when I was working for an organization as a salesperson. So here I was, a salesperson inside this organization going, how can I grow and become a manager inside this organization? Now, on paper, I knew that all things were equal, but I had to stand out. I could sell just as good as the next person, but how can I get myself to stand out? Well, I decided I was going to take some courses at a local church at that time, and they were offering a course by John Maxwell, the 21 Laws of Leadership, on VHS, so the big tube TV and a VHS, and I decided I was going to take that course. And I began to listen to John Maxwell. I began to apply the principles inside the workplace. And then I took every single course that they offered by John that year because this personal growth stuff was really working. And I decided to, I was implementing things inside the workplace. I was getting promoted on the job. The organization I was working with was growing really fast. And I just truly fell in love with personal growth and development. Well, a year later, they had decided to ask me if I wanted to facilitate those courses by John Maxwell. Now, this was a big step, Gloria. This was a big step. They said, Chris, and so I asked them, I said, well, what does this consist of? I've taken all the classes, but what do I need to do? They said, well, Chris, when you come inside the classroom, press play on the VHS, and when you're done, turn off the lights. Now, I didn't think it was that big of a job, but pressing play is the stepping stones to me standing here in front of you today. So I would go back inside those classrooms. I would press play. I would turn out the lights. I would fill out the workbook. And I was hearing those teachings again for the second time, and I was applying them at a higher level in my life. So what it allowed for me to learn was to stay away from the most dangerous words on this planet. The most dangerous words on this planet are, I've heard that before. Now, I would go back in and people would say, hey, I've heard that before. Those are the most dangerous words in the world. And so when you catch yourself asking, or saying those phrases, I've heard that before, you need to shift that to a question and ask yourself, how well do I do that? Because if it keeps coming back up and you keep hearing it again and again, you've got to measure how well do I do that? And is there room for improvement? Really needs to be the question. But I was going back inside that classroom. I was pressing play. I was turning out the lights. I was applying the workplace. I continued to get promoted on the job. And then, I had the opportunity to attend my very first conference. Mm-hmm. Now, I know most of the listeners are probably conference junkies and the personal growth junkies. And you all remember your first conference that you went to. Mm-hmm. My first conference that I actually paid to go to was T.D. Jakes' very first Mega Fest. Wow. So this was in Atlanta, Georgia. I lived in St. Louis, and I went down to the Atlanta Dome, and this place was filled with people, thousands of people. And, there was a life-altering moment. That entire weekend, I watched the stage of speakers. I went to breakout sessions, but there was a breakout session that changed me forever. There was a vendor booth that was happening inside the vendor hall, and there was a speaker showcase. Now, for those that are listening, a speaker showcase is really like a fashion show for speakers. You get 3 to 5 minutes to come out and give your very best. You're on the stage, you're off the stage. And, these people were well-dressed. They were well-spoken. But then at the end of it, they said the magic words, Gloria. They said, these people get paid to speak. I said, oh, my. I like the sound of that. They said, if you'd like to find out more about getting paid to speak, come on to the back of the room, and we'd love to tell you all about it. So I ran back there as fast as I could, and I said, I'd like to find out more about getting paid to speak. They said, we'd love to tell you. We got a 3-day boot camp for $997. Now, this was the first time that had ever entered my ears, was to pay for training on something that was outside traditional schooling. So like any person that hears something like that for the first time, I believe, I said, absolutely not. $997 for a 3-day weekend? There's no guarantee. There's no job. What am I didn't get it. Because up until that point, I was okay with spending money on myself, but not investing in myself outside of traditional schooling, which I didn't do very well at. And so, but at least I'd heard it. And then now I had this vision of, hey, you can actually get paid to speak. So I began to go back and take my job a little bit more seriously in the 10% of what I got to do. Our friend Sherry Riley says that, hey, what if you could spend 100% of your life doing the 10% of what you love to do? And I did that. I went back to the office, and now I begin to take sales trainings more seriously. I began to participate in Toastmasters. I began to, look for other speakers to get around. And I really began to work on the art and craft of speaking, whereas most people think I get up, I speak from my heart, and I motivate the people. That's not the case.
That's not it.
But I began to work on the craft, Gloria. I fell in love with the journey of personal growth and development. I fell in love with developing people and becoming the best sales manager in developing people, not being the best sales manager that could put up the most numbers, but my goal became, could I be the manager that produces the most managers? And I fell in love with that. And that served me very well because I was a producer of people, not just a producer of sales. And I came into and I found out about the John Maxwell team in March of 2011. I joined the very first group of people to be certified by John Maxwell. It was one of those circumstances where I was in a bad situation. I was $180,000 in debt. I just came out of a failed business, and I was trying to figure out how to pay for this certification. I knew I needed this particular program, and so I joined the team. I plugged in. I knew that it was the path for me to really grow in personal growth and development, and I haven't looked back since. It's been an incredible ride, but I've come a long way from press and play.
Yes, sir. That's an amazing story, an amazing journey, Chris. So can you say again about that 10%, the 100%, 10%, because that's really a nugget right there.
So, it's really getting clear on what you want to do and do well. So it's the question that Sherry Riley had posed to me years ago from her book, Exponential Living, is what if you can spend 100% of your time on the 10% that you love to do? Or the 10% best of you, or the 10% of your gift. What if you can spend 100% of the time doing what you are absolutely gifted at? And I didn't realize it at that time, but that was really the shift for me is, what I loved about my job as a sales manager in this growing company was purely people development. All the other stuff I could do without, but what I fell in love with was training and developing people to become better leaders and better individuals.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. So tell us why, finding that 10% was so important for you and the difference, the impact that it made in your life.
Yeah, well, I think it's accidental. I think a lot of people would pick their 10%, and I think that you should. But I think the 10% was discovered as a result of how I was impacted. Was I a naturally gifted speaker? Absolutely not. It's funny. I spoke with.
That's hard to believe. It's so good.
No, it's not natural. In fact, I've got a client now that saw me speak at one of my very first events, and when our very first meeting, several years later, 8 years later, he goes, I have to confess with you, Chris. I saw you speak at one of your very first events, and I said to myself, this guy isn't going to make it. And I said, oh, man, that's the best news that I've heard all week, because when people hear you speak after you've been speaking for a long time, they think that it's this natural skill set, and this has been developed over time. So for me, that 10% was a discovery. It's about discovering it. It's about identifying it. It's about picking that thing that you're going to go after where you actually have some type of gifting towards that. So it's like my true 10% would be, I would love to go play golf, full time for a living, but that's not my gifting. Okay. That's not my gift. And so that gifting, that 10% of what you say that you want to do 100% of the time, that has to come from you discovering what your strengths are and what you're really capable of doing, what that potential is.
Yes. Thank you. I know that our mutual mentor, John C. Maxwell, talks about being in your strength zone, being in your gift zone. So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
That's right.
So Chris, I know that everybody has a story and a journey, and everybody kind of has a backstory as well. So for you, what flipped the switch for you?
What flipped the switch for me? Oh my goodness. There was a couple questions. My wife played a critical role in a switch for me. And this goes back beyond before, I got into personal growth and development, and before, things shifted for me. It was twofold because, growing up, I was a pretty wild child, and I was going to be one of two things. I was either going to be dead or in jail. I was either going to be dead or in jail. And that's why I just smile today going, holy smokes, I run this large organization, and like literally I was going to be dead or in jail. By age 21, I had 2 DWIs at that point in time. And at that point in time, I decided to make a single choice. One of the best choices I ever made. I said, hey, I'm not drinking anymore at all. I haven't had a drink since the age of 22. I'm 40 years old now. So it's been 18 plus years since
Congratulations.
I had a sip of alcohol. So that was one choice. Second choice was that, for me, I'm a person of faith. And so it was, giving my life to Christ, and then, really becoming, a student of faith. And that was two of the biggest changes. But again, that was as a result of my wife and prompting, asking me a question one night in a drunken stupor. She said, Chris, could you imagine what your life could be like without alcohol in it? And in this clear moment, Gloria, I was drunk as I could possibly be. In this clear moment, I saw with clarity from that single question, what could life be like without alcohol? And I saw a vision of it, and there was a peace. There was a peace that came over me in this drunken stupor. And I said, I want that. And, I stopped drinking at that time. And like I said, I haven't had a single drip of alcohol since then. And so that was a great, great turning point for me.
So, Chris, that's an amazing story, and what a wonderful, beautiful wife you have. And for her to ask you that question, I'm a person of faith too, and what you saw, that was a prophecy for your life.
Yeah.
So I've heard you talk about this part of your life before, and I'm wondering if you would be willing to share, you were in court. You were, so tell us about that part if you would.
Yeah. It was another, a judge there was very critical. And this is probably one of the best full circle stories that I've experienced. And, I remember going in, it was Judge Pelican at St. Charles County Court. And Judge Pelican was, he was a tough judge. And, at that time, I was a licensed stockbroker at the age of 19. And, so I had this potential. I had this capacity. And this judge saw this capacity. He said, Chris, he goes, you're either going to be dead or in jail. And so when I say those words earlier, it's as a result of him saying those words to me, because he had the ability to place me in jail at that time. And he says, Chris, he goes, you got licensed at the age of 19 as a stockbroker. He goes, you got a Series 7, a 63, and a 65. He goes, the average person just doesn't pass a Series 7 license exam. He was like, you have potential. He says, I'm going to give you everything that I can possibly give you without sending you to jail. He goes, but if you don't turn around from here, you're either going to be one of two places, dead or in jail.
Mercy.
And so he gave me everything. I had probation. I had SATOP. I had to go to AA. I had to have a blow tube in my car before the car would start. And I went through that process of the court system. And, that process helped me. I was rehabilitated through that process, but I think primarily to my faith is how I was redeemed of that. But I'm not going to preach here today.
Hey, you can preach for me.
But that part was definitely a part of the process. And it was so great because I remember I believe it was 2014 or 15, I was speaking at an event in the same city of Judge Pelican, and I sat down at the table. I'm the keynote speaker for this event, probably 300 people in the room, and I sit down, and it is Judge Pelican sitting next to me. Now, at that moment, Gloria, I am dripping in sweat because I'm like, I know him, but he doesn't know me. And I'm going back and forth of, do I say anything? Do I not say anything? And I turn to him and I say, Judge Pelican, you probably don't remember me because you've seen, thousands of people in your court. But I want you to know that my life was changed because of the chance that you gave me. And today, I'm your keynote speaker. And I mean, the smile on his face, the conversation, the dialogue that he had, and the people that have been impacted because of the choices that he's made. I just can't explain it. It's been incredible. It's incredible what I get to do on a daily basis.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing your heart. And, Chris, I know that you are speaking life into our listeners. And I know that, your story is a mirror for somebody else. So thank you again for sharing it, being open and vulnerable and real. Yeah. So you mentioned a word when you talked about your, what flipped the switch for you. And the word was process. And so I want to just kind of pivot a little bit and ask you about the John Maxwell team. And what does it mean? I mean, we use this term there, being a product of the product, right? So can you give us a little context and then talk about, that?
Yeah. When we're talking about a phrase being the product of a product, it's one thing to sell something. It's another thing to actually be something. One of the privileges that I've had, in this industry is I've had a chance to meet a lot of big name speakers, a lot of big writers and authors. And, what I've come to find out is, I meet some of these people and I've read their great books and I meet them in person. And then I realize that I love their books. There is a difference in the person than what they write, and they're not a product of the product. So when we talk about being a product of the product of John Maxwell team, it's about living what we're teaching. And so why I'm so transparent on every single call is because I don't want there to be this perceived gap of, oh, this is Chris Robinson. He's the long title, whatever it is. And, Chris
it's getting longer,
It gets longer and longer, right? Chris is a human that was in pursuit of a dream. Yeah. And my dream looks just like everyone else's that's out there. It's no different. It's a 3-part story, just like yours, just like mine. It's dream, struggle, success. But the difference is that the people that can hold on to the struggle long enough reach the success. And so when we talk about being a part of the product and, enjoying that journey, it's understanding that I'm going to live what I teach and never teach what I don't live, and then I'm going to understand that there's time in order for me to become who it is that I want to become. And I'm going to do everything I can along the way to make sure that things line up with that.
All right. Thank you. And I love, you talked about the dream, struggle, and success. And a lot of people want success first.
Right. That's correct.
Right. So thank you for that. So what are some of the other ways, Chris, that you have found to serve others? And why are these ways that you serve so important to you?
Yeah, when you say other ways to serve others, I really think there's one way, to serve people, and it's getting to know people and find out how I can help them as an individual, okay? Not just as a leadership coach, but as a human. How can I help you? And so when I work with companies and organizations and I go in to work with a manager, we're going to talk about the business, the leadership stuff, but we're going to talk about the personal stuff as well too, because I don't believe that there's a line of, hey, I'm just here to help you with your leadership. If I can help you personally, it's going to help you professionally. If I help you professionally, it's going to help you personally. And so there's a whole being in place. And so when we're looking to serve others, it's about serving beyond the scope of what we think that we can best serve them with. And so whether that's me helping a coaching client get a new house, a new car, patch up their relationship, help them get sober. Yes, I'm there as a leadership person, but I want to add value beyond what I'm paid to add value for them to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely. So can you unpack this just a little bit more? You talked about, you can sell something. You could probably sell anything. I'm just saying.
I have sold everything, Gloria. I have sold everything.
Oh, my. But you also talked about, not just selling something, but being something. And I understand, I understand that because that's my world as well. But can you just kind of unpack that a little bit in terms of what it means for you? And again, for our listeners who are all over the world, they may not really fully understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. So when I talk about, living into, being more or being what it is that you're selling, you hear the phrase, fake it till you make it, okay? Now, I don't believe in that phrase, fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. Like, look, it's okay to not be it during the process. But as long as you're in pursuit of it, that's not faking it.
Yes.
All right? But when we say, when we try to behave a certain way, model a certain way that we're not, there's a gap and people can pick that up. And so I never want to give off the impression that I'm someone that I'm not because, it's happened to me where I've seen that mismatch of, hey, the book says that you're this, but then when I meet you, it says that you're this. I never want there to be a gap. So it's living into what it is that you're saying that you do. So it's about becoming the person. So when I look in the mirror and I say that, how do I become Chris Robinson? How do I become Chris Robinson? Because the Chris Robinson I am today isn't the Chris Robinson I was 10 years ago. Yeah. I had to become Chris Robinson today. So as you're looking forward at what you want to be, do, and have, you've got to say, hey, what do I need to do to become the person worthy of the person that gets to be, do, and have those things? Yeah. I get to run the largest leadership training company on the planet because I became that person. But I wasn't that person 5 years ago. I wasn't that person 10 years ago. I had to become who I am today, and I now have to become Chris Robinson at age 50 that I'm not now. So it's being in pursuit of knowing Chris Robinson hasn't arrived yet. Chris Robinson has yet to be built.
Yes. And so what I'm hearing you say is that it's always an act of becoming. It's like you don't just get to be Chris Robinson and stop.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Because there's more ahead. I know Paul Martin talks about, here the journey from here to there. And I've used that phrase forever as well. And people think that, once you arrive to there, that's it. Like I'm done, right? And if you ever think you're done, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you are.
Right?
You are. And when I look at today, a lot of people would think that, hey, I've reached a pinnacle, because I get to lead this organization. But with every fiber in my body, this is my stepping stone.
Yes.
This is not my pinnacle. And I'm just getting started. I'm just learning. I'm just growing. And I'm not Chris Robinson yet.
Yes, absolutely. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. So I know we've been on a few trips together with the John Maxwell team. And one that really just, sticks with me is the trip to Paraguay. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about, your trips to serve and what those trips have meant to you, Chris.
Yeah, those trips have been incredible in so many different ways. It's it's just so humbling because on these trips, for those that are listening, we do these what we call transformational trips. And these are trips where we're invited into the country by the president of that country, and we're asked to come in and train at the highest level for the president's cabinet all the way down to school children. We train tens of thousands of people in a period of time in order for them to go out and train people over a period of time so that they can transform the values inside the country. And, they're humbling because the fact that I'm able to step into an opportunity to be able to be a part of something that big. It's here I am trying to help a company, and then I get invited to go help a country. There's a stretching that happens there and you don't go back the same, and
No.
now it's like, oh my, this company is little, and I was just trying to help a country grow. But one of the most humbling moments was, each time, we've been in several presidential palaces, and I remember standing in, I think it was Guatemala, the first time we entered the presidential palace, and I'm just looking around, going, how in the world did I end up here? Here's a guy that should have been dead, should have been in jail, and I'm standing in a president's palace. And the word says that, your gifts will bring you before a great man.
Yeah.
And it was because of a pursuit of my gifting that's opened up doors that I simply cannot open on my own. And I know that I'm, there by appointment. And so for me, those trips are amazing and humbling. I was in the room when John signed into a bill in Paraguay that his curriculum would go into, all the school system. And again, there's a very small group of people in this room, 18 people with some of the president's cabinet, and I'm in the room. It just doesn't make sense. And just truly, truly humbling to be a part of those experiences.
Yes, thank you. So I'm just thinking about the trajectory of, that first conference from T.D. Jakes, right, to John Maxwell, to the presidential palace in Paraguay. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And to your point, you're not at the pinnacle yet. Okay, so there's more, right? There's more of that mountain for you.
More.
All right. So, Chris, can I ask you a little bit about your family? I know that, all of the things that we've been talking about in terms of your work and, being at the helm of this incredible organization are hugely important to you. And I just wonder about, your family and how you find time for them and, what your family means to you as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's not finding time for the family. There's too many of them for me to have to find time. I've got 6 kids. Yeah. I've got 11-year-old triplets, a 7-year-old, and 4-year-old twin girls. And so there's no finding time. It starts with them, as the foundation. And I think that's another big misconception that people have, is that you have to forsake your family, in order to be in pursuit of business. And I can say that my experience has been quite contrary to that. Everything that I've done with my business, I've built my business around my lifestyle and my family versus being opposite. And then now everything's focused around the business, and then it's my family. And so I think putting them first has really been critical. Like I said, I don't really feel like I had a choice to not put them first just because of the sheer size of our family. But I've always built the business around my lifestyle, not my lifestyle around the business.
Good advice. Good advice. Love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I know that there's so many, things that you could devote your life force energy to, that you could give your gifting to, lots of things to choose from. And, there are a lot of good causes out there as well, Chris. So how do you find the right one? And how do you know, where to start to make a difference?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of great causes, but I think part of it is feeling that calling towards that. For me personally, I don't feel like I'm fully committed to a cause right now. It's exploratory. There's a lot of things that I support and I get behind. But I think when we talk about getting behind causes, it's typically, something personal that has impacted us, that really triggered us to go all out for some particular type of cause, is because of our experience. And I can't say that I've had some significant experiences in life that gets me behind things, but I still have not yet experienced that thing that just goes, this is my cause. As I know right now, my calling, not my cause. I know my calling is to impact and developing people. But to say that, hey, I'm 100% behind a cause and I'm dedicating my life to that, I'm still in search for that. I can talk about a recent, if we want to go a little bit non-evergreen incident that occurred with a recent incident that's in the news with the young gentleman that was killed in the Georgia area, Ahmaud Arbery. And, that one, I stay away from, political and racial things, but watching that and seeing the video live, social media and that happening, that's something that triggered something for me going, man, that could be me just jogging through a neighborhood and being misidentified. And so that has a little bit of tugging on me. I don't use social media a lot. I changed my profile pic to his during that time. And I don't change my profile for anything. I post, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. But that triggered something inside that truly did have an impact on me in our justice system.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, that takes me back to Judge Pelican. Yeah. You could be dead or you could be in jail. And the truth is, unfortunately, at this time in our history, that is so true for a lot of, people of color, especially men of color. So thank you for bringing that into the conversation, Chris. Yeah, that's keeping it real. Keeping it real. That's right. So I am, that, my focus is making a difference, being the difference. And it doesn't matter if it's written across the sky. It can be something that just makes a difference in one person's life. And that person could be you, right? And so my own belief is that we create our footprint. We leave a trace of ourselves wherever we go. I call that legacy. And so I know that this is a huge question, but I'm just wondering for you, what trace do you try to leave with people when you are with them? What's the fragrance you want to leave behind?
Well, if you had to say a sentence at my funeral, it would be this: Chris impacted my life by the lessons that he taught and the life that he lived. So again, going back to being a product of the product, I want people to know or to be able to say, hey, that Chris taught this, but he also lived this. He wasn't just a speaker of this, but he was a model of this. And so for me, that's what I want to leave behind with people is, hey, look, he is the product of the product, and he's a doer of what he teaches. Nothing could be more significant to me.
All right. Thank you. You walk your talk. You live your talk. So, Chris, are you working on anything right now, major project that you can talk about that you'd like to share with our listeners?
That's correct, that I can talk about. And currently right now, nothing that I can talk about at this moment. But more importantly, it's the growing and development of the John Maxwell team. Is so important to me, and my number one focus, is I want to continue to create a space to help people grow and develop in speaking, coaching, and training. And so right now, I've got a ton of stuff in the works with John Maxwell team as we continue to grow and develop the tools and resources available for all of our members involved.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Chris, I know that we didn't plan to talk about this particular element, but I know you can talk about it easily. So could you just tell our listeners, I talk about the John Maxwell team on this podcast, but I would love to hear from your words, what it means to you. What, put a face on those 30,000 people. What does that mean?
For me, what it meant was it provided a community of like-minded people that were going in the direction I wanted to go. Being a part of the John Maxwell team, we certify speakers, coaches, and trainers, and we truly help people with personal growth and development. And when I got engaged inside the community, I found my people. These were people that wanted to learn. These were people that wanted to grow. These were people that didn't think it was crazy to get paid to speak. They believed that they could too. And it provided me the tools, the resources, and the people that allowed for me to grow to who I am today. So I'm here today as a result of you, your example, your impact. I'm here today as a result of so many other team members that I was able to meet with, connect with, and grow, outside of my home. Because a lot of people sitting at home right now, their circle of influence is really faltering them from getting where they want to go. You may not have a supportive spouse. You may not have a supportive family. So what's that mean? You got to get around people that are going to encourage you, build you, and believe in your dream. And for me, that was the John Maxwell team. So you guys are looking for a community? Hey, we're here for you.
All right. All right. Well, thanks so much, Chris. And so I just want to thank you again for being my guest. This has been amazing. I'm just humbled and so grateful, really, to have met you. I remember our first meeting down in West Palm Beach. I was at your table. I was in the room. And just to see where you have taken your dream and your struggles and now your success and your significance in adding value to people over and over and over again. We have, 150 some countries, 60 some countries.
Yeah.
I don't want to exaggerate because there are only 200 countries in the world.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So any final thoughts or, pearls of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, for all those that are listening, look, I know your current circumstances may line up with where you desire to be right now, but I want to encourage you that, with the right knowledge, with doing something with that knowledge, with coaching and mentoring, you can be, do, and have what you want. And so if I can do it, average old me, anybody can do it. So I want to encourage you, get in pursuit of your dream, your passion, your calling.
All right. Hallelujah. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
So inspiring. Thank you again, Chris. This is just solid gold. Clearly, Chris Robinson is a leader's leader. He makes a difference in his own life and in the lives of so many others, in his own family and throughout the world in his work as the Executive Vice President of Maxwell Entrepreneurial Solutions. As I mentioned earlier, Chris leads a worldwide team of over 30,000 speakers, coaches, and trainers from over 150 countries. To learn more about Chris's work with the John Maxwell Enterprise, you can go to this website. It's thejohnmaxwellteam.com. I'm going to repeat that. The website is thejohnmaxwellteam.com. You can also sign up for A Minute with Maxwell to receive daily coaching videos with John Maxwell himself. And you can sign up for those videos on the website that I just gave you. How cool is that? If you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Gloria, and this is Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. We just heard from my very special guest, Chris Robinson, Executive Vice President of the Maxwell Entrepreneurial Solutions. If you want to make your life count, if you want to be the change that you seek, be sure to listen to this show again and again, and be sure to tell somebody. Now, you can find me right here on iTunes, Alexa, SoundCloud, Spreaker.com, Talk Network Radio, and so many other places. So be sure to tune in again next week. Now, before I close today's show, I just want to give a shout out to all the women, men, and our young people all around the world, because you know what? We are the ones. We are the ones we have been waiting for. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, don't wait for someone else to step up and make things happen. Because guess what? They might not step up. In fact, they might not even know you're there waiting for them to do something for you. But you can be the one. In fact, can I just tell you something? You are the one. You are the one who can make a difference in your own life so that you can make a difference in the lives of others. It is truly amazing how much impact we have as leaders in the workplace and even in our own homes, especially in our own homes. That's where it all begins, doesn't it? Leading begins right where you are, with you, with your spouse, with your children, your grandchildren, right in your own homes. So moms and dads out there, even when it seems like your daughter or son isn't paying any attention at all, let me tell you something, they are. They're listening. They're soaking it in. And more than anything else, they are watching you. Because you know what? More than anything else, leadership is caught, not taught. That's right. Leadership is caught, not taught. The same way that our values are caught, not taught. Right? Let me be really clear. Your kids are scoping you out. They're observing everything you are, everything you say, and everything you do. Most importantly, they are watching you to see if what you say and what you do line up. Our actions, our choices, really do speak much louder than our words. A good friend of mine who's a former CEO always says, as a parent or as a leader in the workplace, in any context, your walk has got to talk louder than your talk talks. Yeah, let me repeat that. Your walk has got to talk louder than your talk talks. That's what we mean by being. Now, why is that? Because that's how we build the bridge called trust. That's how we strengthen our bonds with those we love. That's how we deepen our relationships one step at a time, inch by inch, mile by mile, and smile by smile, at home, at work, and in every area of our lives, every single day, 365, 24/7. So how is your walk lining up with your talk? You know what? It's never too late to get your walk and your talk lined up, to get your act together, so to speak, so you can take it on the road and make the difference in someone's life that only you can make. Remember this, how you live. How you live is how you lead. How you live is how you be, and it's how you do everything. Now, if you happen to miss any part of this week's show, or last week's, you can simply download the recording and listen to it at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. Check me out at www.talknetworkradio.com. That's www.talknetworkradio.com/legacyliving.html. You can also find me and learn more about my work and legacy living, Make Your Life Count, by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. And that's Gloria, B as in boy, URGESS.com, or by visiting me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. At Facebook, you can find me this way, and that's facebook.com/DR for Doctor, GLORIA BURGESS PhD. That's a mouthful. It's facebook.com/Dr. Gloria Burgess, PhD. Now, before I close today, I want to thank each of you for tuning in to today's show, for allowing me to share a bit about my journey with what legacy living is all about. Not just living and learning, but living and learning and serving, so that you make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others. It's about being on purpose every single day, 365, 24/7. Legacy living is a powerful way to make your life count. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me for today's show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, and this is Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Please join me again next time right here on Talk Network Radio for another show of Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Don't just count the days in your life, Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Have a fantastic day, and remember, make the days in your life count. God bless you. That's our show today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess. I hope you'll join me again next time. Until then, don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Here's to you. Have a fantastic day, and be sure to make it a yes kind of day. Remember to celebrate the music of your life. Make the days in your life count.